is fine for me tonight.
Experience. Level up. Permadeath. Level up.
Hello and welcome to the Yetti Den, where we discuss the odd, the retro, and the rare. Today, we are going to be talking about some Yetti Tactics. I've been putting my 3DS to good use as of late, and I have some Fire Emblem Fates to discuss with you. But first, some context. So sit back and enjoy as we discuss all things tactics, handhelds, and strategy gaming. It wouldn't be right discussing the themes of fate, family, and discovery if we somehow neglected my first console, the Game Boy. First up, my love of handheld systems. My Game Boy Pocket was extensively utilized as a device for my sisters and I to play Super Mario Bros., Donkey Kong, and Star Wars in the backseat of the family Astrovan. In fact, I still remember the day I went to Costco and successfully convinced my mom to buy me the neon green Game Boy Color. With that beautiful green new handheld, I was able to add several new games to my personal Game Boy collection. Pokemon Red and Blue, Tony Hawk Pro Skater, Montezuma's Revenge, and Looney Tunes. With the exception of the Pokemon franchise, I found those Game Boy titles to be quite difficult to my level of experience. So naturally, when the next great thing came out, I decided that my little third grade self was going to turn my attention to the brand new PlayStation. Once the PlayStation brought Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, Spec Ops, and Tarzan, the Game Boy became more of a travel entertainment device, and my exploration of its vast catalog of games grinded to a halt. Can you imagine the fun I would have had if I had immersed myself into turn-based strategy games like Fire Emblem, Advance Wars, or Shining Force? It's not that I didn't have consoles, it's just that as a young video gamer, I was kind of limited in the budget department. Fortunately, I did discover the thrill of chess-like combat via my good friend Nate, who brought his Game Boy Advance and loaded it up with Advance Wars while we were on a road trip to Laguna Beach. My discovery of Led Zeppelin pretty early in life fueled my passion for music and definitely hurt my video game Christmas budget. So, needless to say, games were in my life, but only to the level in which they could feasibly be considered either a gift for the whole family or something that really caught my eye enough to request it as a special treat. I would have loved Fire Emblem. My grandma was responsible for teaching me Spanish and chess, and let's just say I have a passion for both, but my knowledge is quite shallow. But grandma did instill into my elementary school brain, chess is cool and strategy is good, and if I win, I get $5. I never won. So, Fire Emblem scratches that strategy itch. The 3DS feels nostalgic in that I love gaming handhelds, and turn-based strategy titles are pretty consistently amongst my favorite games to dive into on a Saturday morning. Pre-2019, I'd go through gaming deep dives, I'd get excited about a console or genre, and just get invested. I never was a game collector, at least pre-2019, I was more of a gaming enthusiast. The 3DS and the Wii U were marketing games at the same time. So while I was playing through Tropical Freeze, Rayman Origins, Mario Kart, and The Art of Balance, the 3DS was dropping mad JRPG heat. I'd see the trailers for Xenoblade Chronicles and Fire Emblem and not realize that my JRPG awakening was just around the corner. Once I got the Switch in the winter of 2019, I fell in love. A handheld device with an extensive backlog of retro RPG titles, I decided I'd dive in headfirst. One of my first AAA game experiences on the Switch was Fire Emblem Three Houses. That game, along with Civilization and the Banner Saga, sold me on the concept of turn-based battles and strategic tactics. I quickly realized that if I wanted more turn-based strategy RPGs like Fire Emblem, I'd have to add another system to the roster. So after getting scammed online and getting my money back, I decided to take the safe route and order a new unboxed 3DS off of Amazon. With the 3DS finally in my hand, my journey of playing through the Fire Emblem series really took off. Awakening did a great job of reacclimating players to a modern Fire Emblem experience, one that I thoroughly enjoyed. In fact, developer Yamagami of Fire Emblem Awakening told Iwata, "To be honest, when we made Awakening, we intended it to be the last in the series." He continues, "Hitano-san, who was working as the head of the sales department, told us that the Emblem series isn't making the numbers, so this is going to be the last one. And the members said, this is going to be the last one, so let's put in everything we want so we don't have any regrets. Then we had a big list of different things. I want to do this, and I want to do this, and the result was Awakening." Iwata adds, "We were able to make a big comeback. It became the best-selling game in the Fire Emblem series overseas." Yamagami, "That's right. And then Hitano-san completely changed his tune. When's the next one coming out?" End quote. So after beating Awakening, I journeyed on to Nintendo's next title in the series, Fire Emblem Fates Birthright. Developed by Kyoto-based Intelligent Systems and directed by Kouhei, Maeda, and Genki, Yokota, Fire Emblem Fates Birthright builds off of Awakening's momentum. Fates ambitiously introduces a threefold release with Birthright and Conquest, and even a third storyline scenario available via DLC, Revelations. For fans of Fire Emblem, Paper Mario, and WarriorWare, Intelligent Systems is quite a familiar name. According to the publisher Nintendo, Intelligent Systems Co. Limited is a company which develops development support tools and Nintendo games such as the Fire Emblem series, the Paper Mario series, and the WarriorWare series. Fates series is the 15th installment in the Fire Emblem franchise. Nintendo's official description states, "The game revolves around the keyword Fates, where the player must decide his or her character's destiny between two families you love, the Hoshido and the Nohr. By choosing a side, the player will experience a different story, maps, and allies." In 2016, ahead of the North American release of Fates, Kat Bailey sat down with Fates director Kouhei Maeda, producer Masahiro Higuchi, and Nintendo director Genki Yokota for a brief US Gamer interview. Kat interweaves her commentary with quotes from the Fates team. Kat starts the conversation by commenting, "Intelligent Systems is a veteran studio, though many of its developers have been working on Fire Emblem since its debut back on the original Famicom, and it employs around 150 people. Moreover, Birthright and Conquest utilize the same pool of assets, allowing the studio to focus on developing two very good scenarios." End quote. One team, 2 games, well, sort of 3 games. Higuchi tells US Gamer, "I'd like to say that the main staff involved in this project has been more or less similar to those who worked on previous games," end quote. The idea that spawned the multi-release series of Fates started when Yamagami recalled an element of the very first Fire Emblem that always intrigued him. He told Iwata, "In the first Emblem game, depending on which village you went to, you could only choose either Iran or Samson, but no matter which character you chose, the story didn't change. When I said, I wish it would change something, my senior told me, we can't due to limited memory capacity." Iwata recalls, "That was back during the days of the NES. Yamagami says, "I remember how futile it seemed then, and I said, Maeda-san, wouldn't you want to play a game where you could see what would happen if you chose the other side? I want to try this." Maeda nods several times. Yamagami, "And then I thought, if we package them separately, people could have the fun of choosing which one they wanted and wondering which one should I get. I was really enthusiastic when I talked to Maeda-san about it, like I really want to do that, and he said, hold on just a moment. A few days later, he came by and said, Yamagami-san, I completely agree that we should make 2 games. Like, do you ally with Kingdom A or Kingdom B? But I also think that you could choose not to ally with either, so I want to do 3. Building off of Awakening's resurgence, in Kat Bailey's US Gamers interview, she discussed the value of Awakening casual gamer appeal and the developer. Yokota seems intent on not rocking the boat. Yokota explains to US Gamer, personally, I feel it's very important to keep what's been working well in the series, as well as challenge ourselves to implement new things in order to make it more fun and enjoyable for a broad audience. Higuchi discusses the desire for a tight storyline, while also appealing to the simulation elements of Fire Emblem's new gameplay mechanics. He says, but I feel like the key to continue making the Fire Emblem series successful is to continue challenging ourselves and implementing all these good ideas that come up during the development process. When recalling the criticisms of Awakening, Maeda tells Iwata that with Awakening, by changing the tone of the storyline, we were able to get positive reviews from new players of the series. But on the other hand, the story felt lacking to those fans who were with us from previous games, as they wanted a deeper and more complex storyline. In establishing the challenges of following up Awakening, the dev team explained to Iwata. Higuchi says, we took all these opinions to heart and started to prepare to make up the next storyline, one that everyone would be satisfied with. But then we ended up deciding to make 3 at once. Iwata, you didn't stop with simply raising the quality of the storyline, you ended up having to write 3 storylines. That's a lot of work. Higuchi, that's right. It's hard enough to make 3 games, but it would be impossible to do 3 storylines in office. So we started thinking about whether there was someone we could outsource the story to, recruiting a legend to right Awakening's wrongs. While reflecting on the shallowness of Fire Emblem Awakening's storyline, Maeda explains to Kat Bailey, we got the hint that the story has to be simple and easy to understand from a lot of people who will be playing the game. And that's sort of the idea that comes from the fact that he, Mr. Kibayashi, has been involved in a lot of stories or manga, which is typically read by a lot of people. Maeda says, so to address a big crowd, it's sort of the idea that Mr. Kibayashi brought to us, and that has influenced us in the working on the story for this game, end quote. So who is Mr. Kibayashi? Well, Nintendo gives great background on his resume. Former editor for Weekly Shonen magazine, he currently works as a manga writer and novelist. He is known for always wearing sunglasses and a hat, writing under several pen names. He's worked in various forms of media. He has written the stories for several manga series such as Kindaichi, Case Files, Psychometer, IG, Get Backers, Detective School Q, Kami no Shizuki, The Night in the Area, and Bloody Monday. He has also written novels such as Bit Trader and High no Tori, and worked on various TV shows such as Hero Fuji TV. He was in charge of creating the story concept for Fire Emblem Fates. In Kibayashi's own words to Iwata, he states, I started off as an editor and spent a long time at a publisher. After I went out on my own, I wrote the stories for manga. The Intelligent Systems team pitched their idea to the famed writer over dinner. The writer recalled his side of the fateful night. Kibayashi, I thought, I can't answer until I've played one of the games, so I told them that I would reserve judgment until I'd played their game. I then received 2 copies of Awakening, but of course, I still planned on turning them down. He laughs. Thankfully for Intelligent Systems and fans of the Fate series, Kibayashi's daughter played a key role in Kibayashi's willingness to helm the role of lore master. Kibayashi says, I was going abroad to unwind, so I started playing the game on the flight there. Iwata, what did you think of Awakening? Kibayashi, I thought, this is pretty interesting, laughs. Iwata, right. Kibayashi, but I did feel that some parts were a little bit unsatisfying. My daughter, who was in high school at the time, said, I want to play too. So I gave her one and she played so quickly. She kept playing, so I asked her, it's really that much fun? And she said, you should take this job. Yokota, reverently, I'm so grateful. Kibayashi, she said, but the story is kinda cliche, so I think you could make it even better, laughs, end quote. Initially, only hired on to write 10 pages, Kibayashi kept upping the ante, which quickly blossomed into 500 pages submitted to Intelligent Systems and Nintendo. Kibayashi adds that, I ended up writing so much that it could be turned into about 2 books. My Castle, a game within a game. One of the reasons why I love diving into developer interviews is that I often find kernels of fact or intention that I missed out on in my initial playthrough. I hate playing games as if they were homework, and so I tend to approach the game as a casual player and slowly unpeel those layers as I do research or a new game plus. In this case, I put in 33 hours in my first initial playthrough from start to end credits. One of my critiques of Birthright is the My Castle portion. However, I must say the concept is intriguing. As a new Fire Emblem player and coming from 3 houses, My Castle feels more like a springboard to a great idea than a polished final iteration. Throw in the fact that I'm not much of a social gamer or an online player, so even if I had the ability to utilize the 3DS's Street Pass or My Castle's online features, I doubt I would have taken advantage of it. Regardless, learning about the intention behind My Castle, I am certainly intrigued to continue discovering its features and finding new ways to enhance my Conquest playthrough. I went into Birthright with 0 context because that's how I prefer to play a game, or enjoy a movie, or even read a book. Now that I have the context of these interviews and research, I find that there may be more to My Castle than I realized. So let's see what the developer's original intention was. Higuchi. As the name suggests, My Castle is your own castle that you can visit in between chapters. It allows players to lay out the town below the castle however they like. In addition to having conversations with the characters, players can also interact with other players and engage in battles. Maeda felt really strongly about putting the feature in because we wanted players to have other fun things to do besides just the simulation game. Maeda. My Castle lets players experience living with the characters. We made it because we wanted players to really fall in love with all the characters, end quote. Maeda. My Castle lets players experience living with the characters. We made it because we wanted players to really fall in love with all the characters, end quote. So, as I play through the second installment in the Fate series, I will attempt to dive deeper into the mechanics that My Castle introduces. So stay posted for a Fates Conquest playthrough and review. Will I actually play all 3 installments of the Fate series? I do intend to complete Conquest and hopefully even download and purchase Revelations, and it seems as though the developers really did their best to add legitimate value to each game. Kibayashi. And I made sure that the ending of each of the 3 storylines would be unexpected, so I really hope everyone will play them through until the end. That's one thing I want to say, and the other is that I hope that as people play through, they keep thinking, I chose this country, but wish I'd chosen the other one. I think that a conflict of that sort will really help them get into this game. End quote. So here's some of my initial thoughts on the Fate series. I think having all of this context really helps the Fate series, and it certainly influences my approach to these games. I love the art style. I thought the story was intriguing, and the gameplay mechanics were fresh enough, while still feeling reminiscent of Awakening style. I have some favorite characters and some favorite chapters, but I'm very interested to see how that develops as I venture into the second installment. I've already begun Conquest and find that I'm more intrigued and paying closer attention to the diverging story elements. That's all I have for you today, and I am excited to hear your experience with the Fate series. Did you play it when it initially released? How does it rank amongst other Fire Emblem games? Do you believe that the 3DS titles hold up against other consoles' Fire Emblem games? Thank you for watching the Yetti Den. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Later.